Well, there's a chance that your morning routine may include a little stretching and perhaps whitening your teeth. Both practices are talked about a lot online as part of a thoughtful start to your day, but does science back them up? Very interesting conversation on the way with Tim Caulfield, the director of the Health Law Institute at the University of Alberta. Spends a lot of time poring over scientific studies. So, Tim, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to start with the teeth whitening thing. We've got whitening toothpaste, charcoal, purple lights, strips, professional grade, all kinds of ways to whiten your teeth. Do these work?
Okay, so there are many that can't actually do. Some of these over-the-counter products actually work. So what you want to do is you want to look for the ones that are, approved by professional organizations. And look, the results may not be as dramatic as you think, you're hoping. And if you overuse these products, you can do damage to your gums and get teeth irritation. And if you really overuse it, you can even do damage to your enamel. There are other products like the activated charcoal and the natural ones that are kind of no. I guess I won't pull any punches. No, they don't work. This is one of those things that I think. Go talk to your healthcare professional, talk to your dentist, get advice. The in-clinic usually works better. One of the things that I'm fascinated with, though, is why do people care? This is one of those great examples of a cosmetic procedure. Let's create insecurity in people. Your teeth are yellow, and then sell a product to solve that problem and address your insecurity. Our teeth get darker as we age, and maybe we should really just embrace that. And by the way, my teeth are terrible.
Okay, well, that's an interesting insight because there's a lot going on there. But this one is fascinating to me because I think almost everybody in their New Year's resolutions or whatever, they say, I got to stretch more so I feel better. But science doesn't necessarily back up stretching for all that it's cracked up to be.
That's right. This is a topic that I've been obsessed with really for decades because it's one of those areas where there's just this assumption that it works, that it's effective. And the reality is the evidence has never really supported it. We're from a fitness and health perspective. Look, if you're a gymnast, you're an Olympic gymnast, if you're a goalie, you got to have range of motion. That's different from all of us, stretching for health purposes. So very recently there was a sort of a experts interviewing experts study, right? So and basically reviewing the literature on stretching, and it found it doesn't benefit in injury prevention. It doesn't benefit things like posture. It's not an efficient post-exercise routine. It doesn't even benefit performance. In fact, there's some other evidence that shows in some circumstances it might hurt performance. Yes, it can help with range of motion if that's something that is important to you. And I think as you get older, that is something that can be important. But there's ways to do that better, like full body weightlifting, squats, deadlifts, those kinds of things that put your body through a range of motion just as efficient from a range of motion perspective. So the other big thing is this the best way to spend your fitness time, right? When we all are stretched for time, and that's one of the biggest excuses for not exercising. I don't have time. Maybe focus on things where you're going to get a bigger bang for your buck. But, if you enjoy stretching, if you enjoy it, no judgment, knock yourself out.
Because that's what I was going to say. Sometimes you go through a stretching routine and you feel really good afterwards. Is that just more of getting moving? It's more the exercise benefits than the stretching itself?
Well, I think this is one of the, Kent, that's a really interesting point. I think this is one of the reasons why the myths around stretching just don't die. It feels like intuitively it seems like it should work. And it feels like it's doing something, right? It feels like you're doing something. And there's also all of these activities that are closely linked. And I'm not judging these activities. They have certain benefits for sure, but they're closely linked to stretching, like Pilates and yoga, etc. So it's really become part of the fitness culture. And the other thing is you see professional athletes do it all the time. You go to an NFL football game and there's like $1 billion worth of athletes on the field and they're doing static stretching, even though there's no evidence to support it at all, especially in that context. So yeah, there's lots of reasons why these myths live on. If you enjoy it, do it. But the evidence tells us maybe not as beneficial as you might think.
Well, Tim, we've stretched this conversation long enough. We certainly appreciate the insight. As always.
Thanks so much, Kent.
Now, if you'd like to follow along with Tim, there's all kinds of great stuff there. You can follow along online at many platforms at Caulfield Tim.